He said that Jesus Christ has risen, and he is the open door.
Well, how you doing, everyone? Welcome to this episode of the Cajun Conservative Show, where I talk about life, talk about liberty, and talk about the pursuit of happiness. And I show you, the audience, that in the world, that Cajuns do have intelligence. Hope you're having a good one wherever you're located, because remember, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Ladies and gentlemen, I had a great weekend. Saturday we got to hang out with my family. They had an event at their church. Then on Sunday we got to church and we celebrated my middle child's birthday. So I am excited, and I'm also excited right now to conclude the weekend with you, the Cajun Conservative family. And I get to come and hang out with you. And of course, I'm saying at the end of the day, I am recording this on a Sunday night. You're going to be listening to this on a Monday. If you're a faithful listener, when the show drops, I know there's a lot of you out there that listen to the show after the initial day it dropped. And I'm just so thankful that you do. You go ahead and you listen to the show. I'm excited. Once again, if this is your first time, welcome to the Cajun Conservative family. I hope you love the content that we're going to be bringing out here. If you can, go and hit that follow button or that's the subscribe button. If you're looking at the screen, it'll be on your right side. It either says subscribe or follow if you're watching on Rumble or YouTube. If you're on an audio platform like Apple or Spotify, you can go ahead and find out. I believe both of those are follows. No, Apple Podcast is subscribe, and Spotify, I believe, is a follow. So go ahead and help us out by hitting that, and also share with your friends. That is very important. A lot of people don't realize, as content creators, we go ahead and we go ahead. We need that support, and look, I get tons of support from everybody on this podcast. But just help us out. Get the show to grow a lot faster than it's doing already. We're getting a lot of people coming on and being part. We're even at a point right now where we're about to start doing sponsorships. And look, if you notice if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, you notice I'm wearing a new cap. The audio platform, we are working a deal out with Cajun Carts in Lafayette, Louisiana, for them to be a sponsor of this program. And I want to shout out to Scotty Guidry as we work out those plans. You're going to get more information, and it's going to help us grow. And that's what we want, ladies and gentlemen. We want to grow. And it's just not to be the next great Rush Limbaugh or the next great Sean Hannity or anyone like that. It's really to get the truth out and expose the lies. I was hearing a content creator say this the other day, and he was like, we all want that little bit of fame. And look, don't get me wrong, it would be nice to have. But at the same time, my goal is to get this information out here. I am a true blue conservative, and I think the conservative way is the best way. Now, I got a lot of people that disagree with me on that, but I love how we go ahead and we bring out our thoughts and our opinions, and I want you, the audience, to know the truth. And that's why if I hear a story, I go ahead and I look at it, I make sure it's fact, or if I have an opinion of it, I make sure I tell you it's an opinion. And that is my heart. I really want to go ahead and get this show out and grow this show for you, the audience, to know the facts. And look, you have plenty of options out there. You can go ahead and find Fox News, CNN, Daily Wire, or Daily Mail, whatever your preference of newspapers or news networks. You have the right to listen to that, and you have a right to believe a certain way. But always be objective and open-minded to it. And that's where I think in America right now, we're at that point. In America right now, we're at a point to where it's our way or there's no way. Our opinion or no opinion. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that jumping into our topic for right now. That's what we're going to be talking about, some way, shape, or form. And what am I talking about this? Well, last episode, I came out and I talked about the Supreme Court making decisions on congressional maps. And ladies and gentlemen, I disagree with the court. I still disagree that I think they should have went ahead and make sure that, because Democrats have done that for years with the congressional maps. They put it towards one way so it benefits them. And a lot of people will say, well, do the Republicans do it as well? Well, when the Republicans try to do it, all of a sudden it becomes an issue. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what my point was about last week in the third segment. Well, in the last episode. And it bothers me when I see that. I see that the Democrats do some, the courts close their eyes and don't want to see it. But then all of a sudden, when the Republicans do it, all of a sudden we get our values back as a country. And this shows that we're in a tutorial justice system. We know this for a while now. Now, going to what I'm talking about, the courts, however, last week the courts went ahead and I mean they made these decisions, and the Democrats praised the Supreme Court. Oh, we think the Supreme Court did right. Oh, we think the Supreme Court followed the Constitution. Oh, we think the Supreme Court is doing their jobs. Remember, it was all high praise from the left-leaning media and also from some Democrats. They were praising this court. They thought this court did the right thing with these rulings in North Carolina, Alabama, and Louisiana. And they were praising the Supreme Court. Now we come on to a new day or a new week where the Democrats and the leftists are very upset with the conservative court. Now, look, I disagree with the court, but I'm not a lawyer either. I don't know why they went ahead and made these decisions that were based on the decision for the congressional maps. All I can do is read articles and give you my understanding of the article, but I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a judge. Now, going into this, however, the Supreme Court went ahead and made a couple of rulings on the last days of June, which today is July 2nd, and you're going to go ahead and hear this podcast on July 3rd to start off. But the Supreme Court made a couple of key decisions, and ladies and gentlemen, it made the Democrats get a little upset. What am I talking about here? And we're gonna break these down. First off, is affirmative action. So the Supreme Court went ahead and ruled that affirmative action could not be used no more in giving people college education, or I guess you could say jobs. What is affirmative action? Well, affirmative action was this: that they would make the assessment, or they'll put you in college based on your race. And ladies and gentlemen, it was supposed to help colleges to help the minorities and to help people of lower classes to get into college. On the surface, it's not bad. Okay, you should have a way to where you can have equal opportunity. Remember that phrase, equal opportunity to get into colleges. But if you start looking at the statistics, all these schools, including Harvard, who was the plaintiff of this decision from the Supreme Court, were allowing more minorities to go in there than the majority, or white people. And ladies and gentlemen, I think that was wrong. Why do I think it's wrong? Because why was it wrong in the 60s and 70s for white people to call out black people on certain things or leave black people out? It was called segregation. It was wrong. It was based on the race of that individual that they couldn't do. Water fountains, you had two separate water fountains. You had the black water fountain and you had the white water fountain. That was wrong. That right there was wrong. And Dr. Martin Luther King and many people, Rosa Parks, all fought to end that. But now if you move 20, 30 some years or whatever, the 40 years after these great men and women live to fight that we wouldn't have segregation, all of a sudden now the left is promoting segregation, but on two different races now. Hey, let's prop up the minorities and let's put the majorities on the side. Remember, this is why the left loves the theory of critical race theory, where because you are white, you are more privileged than anybody else, and that is just not so. And if somebody thinks that, I will call them out. They are racist if they believe that. If they believe whites are superior to the black people, you're wrong. And that's a wrong way of thinking. You shouldn't be thinking like that. Not especially as a Bible-believing Christian. I believe all people are equal in the sight of God. Now we know what the teaching of salvation and all that. That's something totally different on that. But God don't look at your skin tone. God looks at your heart. And God looks at, you got to look at a person's character. If you have the credentials, I don't care what color you are, if you qualify, you should get that job. But see, that's what affirmative action was taken away. If you had someone that was, I'm not trying to sound racial right here, but this is what affirmative action was doing. If you were white and you were the top, if you had the top grade in your class going into, or the high GDP, but you had someone of the minority, and it could be black, Asian, white, it don't matter, and they had a lower GPA, well, because of their skin tone, they would get into college and leave the other person out. And that was affirmative action. Now, we got the President of the United States making statements on Thursday condemning the Supreme Court, this is from Fox News, that it is unconstitutional for universities to use race as a fracture in administration decisions, and recommend that schools across the country find a workaround for a decision that he said ignores legal proceedings. Hold on. So, Mr. President, you're telling people of your country to break the law. Now, remember, these are the same people that praise the Supreme Court on congressional maps. Why? Because it benefit them. But now that this is going the way they don't want to do it, President Biden is telling telling colleges, find a loophole around this. Keep on doing what you're doing. Just find a loophole around it. Don't care what the Supreme Court says, because it is ignoring legal precedents. Ladies and gentlemen, the Supreme Court says that is wrong. You are violating the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. But ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States is encouraging colleges to not listen to the Supreme Court. Now, I want to ask you a question. And if you want to email me your response or comment at the bottom and tell me, what would be the response of the Democrats if a Republican president said something like this about Liberty University? Well, what you mean, Isaac? Well, I'm going to tell you. A Supreme Court decision goes up, and it's Liberty something Liberty University did, which is a Christian college. And the Supreme Court tells Liberty University, you shouldn't do that. And the president comes out and says, hey, you know what? Liberty University, don't care what the Supreme Court says. You go ahead and do it. You would have mainstream media blowing up their cable news networks with articles and news flashes and all that, saying how the Republican president is telling a Christian college to not follow the law. They're breaking the Constitution. They might even try to impeach him. If it was Donald Trump, they would have tried. This is going against the Constitution. He's messing up it. He's not following his oath to the Constitution. Impeached him. That's what they would be screaming. But you're not seeing this. I'm pulling this from Fox News. Ladies and gentlemen, he also said, the president, this is not a normal court. He was walking out of the press conference. Why is it not normal? The Supreme Court looked at all the evidence. Yes, I know it's 6-3 majority conservative. I'm not gonna debate that on there, but people will say, well, hold on, that's what they didn't read no law. No, they said under the 14th Amendment this was wrong. Judge Roberts put out the majority opinion, and he said some great things about it. One thing he said, many universities have for too long done just the opposite, Robert continued, and in doing so, they have concluded wrongly that the touchstone of the individual identity is not challenge-based skill built on lessons learned by the color of their skin. Our Constitution and history does not tolerate that choice. But Biden says that this is not a normal court. Why? Because they're conservative? And when I read that statement from Biden the other day, when I was looking into this and hearing all the news articles, this is not a normal court. Why is it not a normal court? Why is it not a normal court? Oh, well, and I Biden didn't say this, but I'm reading between the lines, because they had other people that came out and made statements along these lines. The reason that the court did this is because they're conservative, and because they're conservative, that means they're racist. And because they're racist, they don't want the minorities to have the same rights as those evil white people. That it's not a normal court. That's all Biden was saying. Walk off. And look, he would not answer no questions, and maybe they asked him, why is this not a normal court, Mr. President? Why? Why is this not a normal court? Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is the thing about the president. The president makes statements like this and walks off, leaving us, the pundits, to imagine what President Biden is saying. Like I said, a lot of leftist politicians and pundits expressed rage on Thursday after the landmark Supreme Court decision was released that struck down the race-based administration policies of Harvard and the University of North Carolina. Ladies and gentlemen, all these pundits, you had House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said ruling diminishes hard-fought progress for racial justice. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. As I said, it more sounds like that the Democrats are pushing racial segregation because they want universities to accept people on the basis of their skin tone and not their accomplishments. That is, I hate to say, that's what it looks like the Democrats are doing. Oh no, the progress for racial justice. That is not racial justice. When you have somebody that worked their tail off, I don't care what color their skin is, don't get into a college because somebody got in because of the color of their skin. And they have not accomplished anything. But that's what Nancy Pelosi is pushing right here. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said the decision was misguided. The Supreme Court ruling has put a giant roadblock in our country's march for racial justice. What racial justice? What racial justice? Well, they didn't let them in because of the color of their skin. Well, apparently the universities are letting them in because of the color of their skin. How is that racial justice? I thought racial justice was equal. You remember Martin Luther King said, I have a dream that all men will be represented equally. I'm not quoting verbatim, but Martin Luther King's dream was that we wouldn't look through the lens of black and white, but we look at people and that we all have the same opportunities based on our character. But the Democrats say that we're not, the conservatives, we're racist, homophobic bigots. But their universities, Harvard and North Carolina, these universities are picking people to go into their college not based on their accomplishments, but on the color of their skin. And apparently, Democrat leadership like Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and even the president thinks that the courts made a bad decision because they went on the rule of law with the 14th Amendment. And this is why I feel Democrats are pushing for racial segregation. But it isn't like in the 60s. But it's totally opposite. And that is wrong. And for the president to go ahead and say that this court is not a normal court and he don't agree with their decision. Okay, I can understand not agreeing with their decision. Like I said, I disagree with the decision last week the Supreme Court put out with the congressional maps. I disagree with them totally. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the court found in the law that, hey, they need to work on this. But for the president to start criticizing the Supreme Court because he don't like their ruling, and they saying, oh, they putting a block for racial justice. No, they're doing their job. And ladies and gentlemen, this is just the start. We're going to go in from the second segment on two other cases that the Supreme Court pulled out and went ahead and ruled on. And Joe Biden and other Democrats didn't like it either. We'll be right back after this break.
How you doing, everyone? Isaac here. I'm the Cajun Conservative, and I want to thank Brother Lanny Hayes from Hayes' Dump Truck Service for their generous support of the Cajun Conservative and Brothers Just Searching. Hayes' Dump Truck Service serves the Lafayette and surrounding areas. If you have any job that you need done, like cleanup or hauling material to your job site or your home, we haul limestone, we haul sand, we haul topsoil, any type of material you need. If you're in Lafayette and surrounding areas, please call Brother Lanny Hayes at 337-852-8043. Remember, Hayes' Dump Truck Service, where Jesus is Lord of the company.
Cleansed and made us whole. Not one hoof, not one soul.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the second segment of the Cajun Conservative Show today. Yeah, go check out Lanny Hayes at Hayes' Dump Truck Service. He is he's my dad. I would say that he's my dad, and I also work for the company. So yeah, if you're in the Acadiana area, give us a call for all your hauling needs with rock, limestone, or anything like that. Also, I'm going to give them some free publicity right here. Cajun Carts in Lafayette, Louisiana. Go ahead and check out their website and go check the Cajun Carts for all your golf cart needs if you have anything like that. We're working already on these ads, and they're going to be coming out pretty soon. So go ahead and check them out. All right, so let's go ahead and continue with these court rulings, because the last one took a lot longer than what I originally wanted. I wanted to try to cover all of these three in one segment, but there's just a lot going on with this. Now, on the last day of Pride Month, which is ironic, that the Supreme Court would wait until the last day of June to pull this case down and to rule on it. And to be honest with you, when they ruled this, I'm happy they did it. But at the same time, it didn't really surprise me, because you would have to go on the last case with something like this with the Baker and same-sex marriages. But this was from Fox News. Supreme Court rules in favor of Colorado graphic designer who refused to create same-sex wedding website. The Supreme Court held that a Colorado graphic designer who wants to make wedding websites does not have to create them for same-sex marriages, in a landmark decision that pit the interests of LGBTQ non-discriminating against the First Amendment freedom. In a 6-3 decision issued Friday, the High Court ruled in favor of the artist Laura Smith, who sued the state over its anti-discriminating law that prohibit businesses providing sales or other accommodations to the public from denying services based on the customer's sexuality ordination. So what's happening here, this woman had a wedding graphic design. She was a wedding graphic designer. She made websites for customers to see their weddings and all that. But she is a Christian, and she don't believe in same-sex marriages. So when a same-sex couple would come and say, hey, can you go ahead and make our website and all that, she would say no, because my faith says I'm not good. I can't do that. So what would happen is the state that she's in, Colorado, passed a law saying that companies couldn't do that. They couldn't discriminate against the sexual ordinance or their sexuality, and they had to accommodate them people. Now, going back to the last topic of the first segment, it's funny how you can go ahead and discriminate against people based on their race, but not against their sexual orientation. Think about this, okay? The left says, hey, if it's somebody in the minority, you have to accept them right away. Why? Well, because the color of their skin. But if a same-sex couple goes into a store and says, hey, we want you to do something, you can't discriminate against that. You can't say, hey, my beliefs say I can't do that. You just have to say, oh, yes, so me, yes, so me. And you have to obey the state. Now, ladies and gentlemen, of course, the left didn't like this. They went into a tailspin, and again saying how, oh, this is against the LGBTQ community. This is against everybody that goes ahead and wants to live their life and be proud of who they are. Ladies and gentlemen, it's sickening. The left went ahead, and including Joe Biden. This is from Todd Stern's website. Democrats are setting with rage after the Supreme Court handed down the landmark ruling that will protect religious business owners from radical alphabetical activists. I like how Todd Stern's. I'm gonna a point right here. If you ever can go listen to Todd Stern's radio program or his podcast, Todd Stern's a normal guy. He's just like us. Now, he's a national surrogated person, so, but he's just like us. The court 6-3 ruling in 303 Creative LLC versus Ellis, and that's the court case, writes business to reject any sort of work that would violate their deeply held religious beliefs. In response, President Biden called on Congress to immediately pass the Equality Act, a piece of legislation that would open the doors to massive assault on churches. Listen to here, right here. Now, look, this is the president, okay? The court says, look, you cannot go ahead and force companies to do what they don't want to do. Okay? That's just, and on the premise of this is that these companies have a First Amendment right. And part of that First Amendment right is that you have the right to religious freedoms, the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion. You have all that. And look, this isn't the first time the Supreme Court has heard a ruling on this. Remember the guy that was the baker? That a gay couple went in there and said, look, we want to go ahead and we want you to make a cake. He said, I'm not going to make you a cake. I'll sell you a cake, but I'm not going to specifically make a cake for your wedding. They sued him, brought to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court does the same thing. He's a business owner. Y'all cannot force him to do what he don't want to do. Then right after they sued him again, he had to go to the Supreme Court, won again. So this is the third case in God knows how many years that the Supreme Court says you cannot force a company to do anything like this. But leftist states like Colorado say, oh, well, we're going to pass laws and you will obey. And we need to keep on fighting. Christians and conservatives need to keep on fighting, and we're going to still get the same ruling. But now that President Biden, oh Lord, I should call him that, but Biden went ahead and got butthurt again. Now he's calling on Congress, who is majority conservative, to pass the Equality Act. It's legislation that would massively overhaul our federal civil rights framework in order to mandate special privileges for sexual orientation and gender identity. So it isn't an Equality Act. It is a LGBTQ bill that would give them special favors. That's not equality. I thought equality was, hey, everybody's equal. And everybody, you have a you're not segregating against everybody. You're all on a level playing field. But not according to the president. He wants them to pass this bill that would go ahead and give special rights to people because they say they're part of the same community. That isn't right. Also, this bill, right off the top of my head, goes against the Constitution because Congress is not supposed to pass a bill. And that's why the courts are there, so the courts would keep them in line. You're supposed to not pass a bill that infringes on anybody's rights. Well, ding, 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 ding. This bill goes ahead and infringes on the rights of Christians and on conservatives. Also, it expands abortion access and guts religious liberties. We just mentioned that. Leaving many to suffer the consequences, including women, children, medical professionals, parents, teachers, students, families, including small business owners, the unborn, churches, religious organizations, and schools, people of faith, and even those members of the LGBTQ community it claimed to protect, the Family Research Council said. So, ladies and gentlemen, Biden's response to this is, court, and look, he has the right to say this. It went down to I think it was the Supreme Court with I'm trying to remember the Civil War. I believe the courts said something about slavery then, and Abraham Lincoln said, well, look, it's the courts, let's create a law, in which they did. They made the Emancipation Proclamation, and it was legal. So Biden can call on this rule, but the thing of it is, the difference with this is that this act that he's asking for Congress to pass is an act that would take away freedoms of other people in other communities, but give special privileges to the LGBTQ community. And that is not right. You are taking away rights from one community, let's call it like that. You're taking away from the Christian community and giving special rights to the LGBTQ community. You're basically segregating people and saying you're of a lower class, you're of a higher class. And that is Biden's response to this ruling. Hey, let's just make a law that goes ahead and strips everybody of their rights and give it to one particular group of people. And ladies and gentlemen, that is not right. Now, look, the court, in my opinion, and I will say this in my opinion, it made the right decision based on the First Amendment. But Biden don't see it like that. All Biden sees, and look, the next case we're going to talk about, he did the same thing, but just not the president, but everybody else to the left. They didn't look at the Constitution. All they did was they looked at their Christian faith and made the decision on their Christian faith. They're not, look, you even have AOC running around today telling the Congress that they need to subpoena all the justices and start impeachment process on the Supreme Court justices. Look how quick Democrats are to impeach conservatives, but the conservatives are being so slow to impeach Biden. It's unreal. With mounting evidence. We want to make sure we have all the evidence and we have enough evidence to make sure he's gone. It's just mind-boggling to me. But ladies and gentlemen, the president, look how they are. The president is quick to condemn and say they're unconstitutional. It's unconstitutional what they're doing. It's even come to a point where Buttigieg, yes, I said it right, Buttigieg, which I don't know why he's even dealing with this, but he's supposed to be the transportation secretary and doing a terrible job, went ahead and made a claim on a morning news network that the only reason that Laura Smith went into the wedding business is only to provoke cases like this after the Supreme Court ruling. So look, Buttigieg, I'm sorry. He is not the smart. I say he lies so much. He got so many holes in his story. That's why I call him Buttigieg. But Buttigieg said on CNN that this woman went into business to go ahead and get to the Supreme Court and get to the Supreme Court. Why would a woman do this? It would be like me saying, hey, the reason I became the Cajun Conservative was to go ahead and offend people. Now, there might be some on the left that might say that. I know some people that believe that about me. The only reason I'm behind this microphone is to offend everybody. And that's not the case. I didn't wake up one day and say, hey, I want to offend everybody in America, so I'm going to make a podcast. But Buttigieg saying this woman, the only reason this woman, remember, the transportation secretary, the only reason this woman went into business was not to make a living for her family. It wasn't to go ahead and to have a great career and build a business and live the American dream. No, she started this business to offend the LGBTQ community and to make a name for herself. What's going to happen after this week? But now, and this was the funny thing about it. They might say, well, hold on, I think he has a good point right there. You sure he isn't biased? What do you mean? Ain't Buttigieg part of the LGBTQ community? Ladies and gentlemen, you see how the left is attacking this lady? It's sickening. Excuse me as I take a taste of water. But yeah, it's the left is just attacking this woman. And look, like I said, last couple of days, they were praising the Supreme Court. Oh, they did so good. Where is hope for the Supreme Court? They ruled right in these congressional maps. Now, of course, the worst thing in the world. Also, with the last case being the Supreme Court strikes down the Biden administration's $430 billion student loan debt. Well, this is from the Daily Wire. They said the scheme, but in stringing defeats for the Biden administration, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled Friday that the COVID-era HERO Act did not give the White House authority to unlimitedly forgive federal subsidized student loans. Chief Justice Jeff Roberts wrote for a 6-3 majority, saying the secretary asset that the HEROES Act granted him the authority to cancel $430 billion of student loan principals. It does not. We hold today that the act allowed the secretary to waive or modify existing statutory or regulated provisions apply to the financial assessment program under the Equal Act, not to rewrite the status from the ground up. So what was happening with this is because of the HEROES Act, President Biden said, well, I'm going to go ahead and fulfill my promise, and I'm going to wipe away $430 billion worth of student debt. And I'm going to go ahead and do it. And the Constitution clearly states that he can't do that. That is the role of Congress to handle the bills and all this. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the decision was made on ideological lines. Excuse me, big words. Chief Justice was joined by the majority by Justice Samuel Alito, Neil Gorsuch, Amy Coney Barrett, Brett Kavanaugh, and Clarence Thomas. The first case was decided unanimously with all justices ruling in the Department of Education versus Brown that the two participants who were denied debt relief under the program did not have standing to sue the Department of Education. Second case, Biden versus Nebraska, upheld the right of the several GOP states involved in the lawsuit to sue Biden administration, clearing the hurdle necessary to present their argument before the court. Roberts bluntly contended in the majority opinion, 6 states sued, arguing that the HEROES Act does not authorize the loan cancellation plan, and we agree. That's how it was the Daily Wire. So, ladies and gentlemen, Biden is upset now because the court did again the right thing and went ahead and said you cannot go ahead and cancel these student loans. That is the job of Congress. Ladies and gentlemen, if you read the Constitution, that's basic constitutionality 101. Now, what did Biden say about this other laws? Now going back to Supreme Court wins, he did have one with immigration. He had a win with immigration. The Democrats had a win, remember, with the constitutional maps. They were praising the Supreme Court. Oh, the Supreme Court's so good. They're so balanced. And now all of a sudden they're misunderstood. They're misinterpreting the Constitution. Well, why you say that? I said, well, that is Biden's statement. President Biden announced a new plan to cancel the student debt after the Supreme Court struck down his $400 billion student loan forgiveness program. I'm trying to find where he, where's Biden's, I'm trying to look for Biden's statement. And I can't find. The president blamed Republican elected officials for bringing the legal case against his plan, which they should have. It was against the Constitution, and said Republicans snatched away the hope from student borrowers. Biden also said the hypocrisy of the Republican elected officials is stunning. They have no problem with billions in pandemic release loans to businesses. Well, hold on. We're going to stop right there. It was done by Congress. And it was also a tutorial, it was a nonpartisan loan. And yeah, I think they should have helped. Remember, they told them to shut down. Including hundreds of thousands, in some cases millions of dollars for their own business. And these loans were forgiven. But when it comes to providing relief to millions of hardworking Americans, that they did everything in their power to stop it. Biden said in a statement, I believe the court decision to strike down our student debt relief plan is wrong. He also signed a veteran student loan bill almost immediately after the court's decision. The president signed the Constitution, the changing age, the Dominion eligibility to students in incentive payments act, expanding the maximum age for those in the students incentive program. The program provides economic financial support to those who attend one of the 6 economies. I'm trying to see if they have his statement, because the article says the court misinterpreted the Constitution. That is Biden's. So Biden, basically what Biden says, hey, it was wrong, and that the courts are, he tweeted out unthinkable. The fight isn't over. I have more to announce when I address the nation this afternoon. So, ladies and gentlemen, but going back to these court cases, Biden says he thinks it's wrong. Now, he is doing something else to still forgive these loans. The Supreme Court told him he can't do that. Okay? The Supreme Court just told him he can't do that, but President Biden wants to go ahead and do it anyway. On my closing arguments, because the first segment and second segment is pretty much on the lines of these Supreme Court rulings this week. It's funny how the Democrats go ahead and praise the Supreme Court when it benefits them. That's really what it comes down to. But these cases, they're slandering, saying they don't understand the Constitution. Ladies and gentlemen, it just bothers me that we have a party. And look, Republicans do the same thing, but Republicans don't go to that extreme. They will say, look, we disagree with the court's decision. We believe they were wrong, but look, we're going to abide by the court's decision. Not the left. Every time the left they lose at the Supreme Court, it's always, hey, we got to call for impeachment. As I said, AOC said earlier today, or we have to go ahead and we have to make sure that you got to go around this ruling. Or they're bigots. Or they come up with all this stuff instead of going, just saying, look, we're going to obey what the court says. Or look, we disagree with it, but we're going to go ahead. And look, all these rulings, I believe I did a good job telling you what they went ahead and why the Supreme Court said, look, this is the reason why we went against this case. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if when it comes down to this, the Democrats do not, I repeat, they do not respect the Constitution. Because if they did, they would go ahead and take these rulings of what the judge says and said, look, we're good with it. But they're not going to do that. Because you know why? Because they don't like anybody standing in their way. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what they see the Supreme Court. And look, I'm going to go back to my last segment of my last episode. The reason that they're trying to get all these federal judges in there is to go ahead and change the way we look at our nation, or change the rules and laws of our nation. And look, I thank God for the Supreme Court, because as long as we have the Supreme Court, that we have a good fighting chance. And look, they're not perfect. As I said, I disagree with them on the congressional maps. I disagree with them on what they said about immigration and certain things of that nature. I understand that. I disagree with that. They voted on it. We can't stop. We can't put toothpaste back in the tube. But ladies and gentlemen, see, hey, it's all good. But Democrats, nope. We got to figure out a way to get what we want, because it's the right way. There's no other way. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and take a break. We'll be right back in a few moments.
Cheers and good on you, boys and girls. My name is Scott Ford, and I have a show on Rumble. It's the Scott Ford Show, all one word. The Scott Ford Show, all one word, and it's on Rumble. I'd be very happy if you went ahead and subscribed. Like Isaac, I'm a true American-loving patriot. Thank you, Isaac. God bless. Enjoy your life.
You're my peace of mind. When this old world seems to get me down.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the third and final segment of this episode of the first, the beginning week episode. I am tongue-tied. Ladies and gentlemen, I am ready to go to bed. Ooh. And you might be listening. Well, you might be listening at 5 o'clock in the morning. Like, well, Isaac, you shouldn't be getting up for work. Of course, this isn't a live program. So we got a few things I do want to talk about. One, I want to talk about our own state of Louisiana. Louisiana governor vetoes bill targeting LGBTQ plus U. This was the bill that Fred Mills, who is unfortunately my state senator, and look, the session's over right now, unless they go into a veto session, which is highly likely going to happen here in the state of Louisiana for bills like this and other bills. I think it will happen. But Senator Mills went ahead and blocked this bill from going to the Senate floor. They figured out a way to put it into another committee. It went to the Senate floor and it passed unanimously. It passed veto-proof numbers. So if it would go to a veto and they all stay on the same party lines, the House and the Senate, this bill should pass. But the governor here in Louisiana went ahead and vetoed it. Edwards, in his veto message, called out the bill as harmful for youth, discriminating, and extremists. Ladies and gentlemen, what is discriminating and extremists and harmful more than doing surgeries that cut off body parts for teens that really don't know who they are yet. And look, I'm not against somebody 18. Look, I cannot tell an 18-year-old person who's considered an adult to do anything. Okay? But you have this set of people that believe children should make life-altering decisions about their body. And if that's the case, if the state can't make decisions about that, well, then we should let my 5-year-old go ahead and drive a car. Oh no, he don't know what he's doing. Okay, but if I take that same 5-year-old and go bring him to the hospital and say, hey, he wants to become a girl. Oh, okay. Does that make sense? No, it don't. But the governor of Louisiana, hopefully we don't get another Democrat governor after him because he's term limited. But ladies and gentlemen, vetoes the bill and says it's harmful to youth. Yeah, it is. You're allowing certain kids to have certain surgeries that really hurt their body. It's discriminating. Oh, because they're part of the LGBTQ community? But what about their health? Because remember, we're supposed to be worried about that, all their health and other things. Now, like I said, this is probably going to go into a veto session, which I hope it does. And we're going to have to wait and see. I might have to contact some of my sources in the House of Representatives of Louisiana and our state reps and see what is going on with this. France, ladies and gentlemen, is really going up in smoke. This is because they had a shooting there. According to this article, thousands of people have been arrested so far after hundreds of cars and buildings have been set on fire, and countless stores have been looted following the death of a teenager of African descent. So now, ladies and gentlemen, why is France having these issues? And the reason I ask that question is because isn't Macron, the French prime minister, the French president, whatever, he's one of the most left-leaning people on earth. Literally, there's Trudeau, there's Biden, and then possibly him. And look, and that's not in that order. They could be, could be flip-flop, upside down. It depends. It depends which one wants to be more radical in the day. But it's supposed to be equality and equally. Now, African descent, I'm hearing that he is part of the of a Muslim community. I can't confirm that. That's what I've heard. But ladies and gentlemen, at the time of this recording, it's going on to about 6 nights of France going up into smoke. Now, I found the article earlier, and I thought I saved it, but apparently it didn't go to my notes, where there was a priest, an 80-year-old priest, was beaten and left for dead. And there was even talks of lynching this priest, and also Christians are getting attacked under the looting because some of the Muslim most radical people are taking this advantage and they're going after Christians in this city in France. And that was, I believe, was on the Daily Wire. But ladies and gentlemen, France is going up in smoke. Why? Because of radical left thinking. And look, we've had our struggles here with riots. The Summer of Love, you remember? Where they had one individual that was unfortunately died in the hands of the police officers, and cities for weeks and months went up in smoke. And when they come to find out, a lot of the stories that were coming out were false, and we start getting more information on it. But ladies and gentlemen, this is a disaster. But going on that point, just thinking about it, why is France having this issue? Why is France having this issue? Why is France having this issue? I thought there was a left-leaning community or a left-leaning country. Now, the BBC reported that the teen, who had been in trouble before and was known to police, was fatally shot in the chest point blank at the wheel of a Mercedes car for driving off during a police traffic check. Videos of this shows one officer leaning over the hood of the car, and when the vehicle started moving, it flung the officer to the side of the car. Approximately 3,000 people have been arrested so far, and hundreds of police officers and firefighters have been injured. The country's top two police unions, the Alliance Police Nationale and the UNSA Police, said in a statement that police officers are at the front lines because we are at war. So now this goes to another. It was just funny. I'm thinking about it. It's funny how the news media is portraying this. There's riots in France. France going up in smoke with violence happening all over the country. I hear CNN and MSNBC talking about riots. You know what's happening in France happened in the summer of love. Think about this, okay? Think about this right here, what I'm about to tell you. In the summer of love, and that was the summer of 2020, with George Floyd and many other shootings that happened all over the country where it was an outrage, and they had buildings burning in the back of reporters, and the reporters saying, hey, it's mostly peaceful protests. Don't you remember that? Now it's funny how in France it's a riot, but then the news media was saying these are mostly peaceful protests. These are protests to protest the injustice that is happening in America today. Remember the left? The left quoted all that. But now that it's in France, it's a riot. According to the same lines as what I'm reading that's happening in France, isn't it just, is it police brutality? You know, to my knowledge, the media isn't talking about this. And again, you have to go to the question. This is a liberal country, France, and they're still having these problems. Ladies and gentlemen, it's either the problem is what they're saying it is, or is it something? It's something going on in these left-leaning countries and cities. It's a question that you, the leftists, if you're listening, should ask that question on. Now, you're probably not, unless you're open-minded. You're not going to ask this question because you think, well, whatever Obama says or whatever Biden says, whatever Nancy Pelosi says is right. And we start saying, well, what about this fact? What about that? Oh, no, they're wrong. No. All right. So on the last story of the day, I want to go ahead and tackle a story that I really feel that needs to be brought out. And why do I feel this story needs to come out? Well, the reason being is because if you're listening to this on the Monday, it's going to be July 3rd when this episode is released. The Tuesday of this week is July 4th. What is July 4th? Well, I'm very patriotic. If you're watching on Rumble or YouTube, you can see all the flags. You can see I have the new Pledge of Allegiance plaque around here, which was done by my good friend, Mr. Warren. And his company is going to be at the bottom of the description. Go ahead and check him out. Great guy, great talent with a laser, just to say. But you can notice I am very patriotic here. I love my country. I am proud to be called an American. And July 4th is coming up in 1776. Our founding fathers created a document called the Declaration of Independence. And in the Declaration of Independence, we were liberated from Great Britain's grip of power. This led to the Civil War. I mean, not the Civil War, the Revolutionary War. And we fought, I think, until 1782 to win our independence from Great Britain. And that document, the Declaration of Independence, said that this country was free from I guess you could say, a tyrannical government. Now, if you study the War of 1812, Britain came back and tried to take us over a couple of years later. This was in the middle of their war with Napoleon and all that stuff. But our country, looking pretty good for 200 and some odd years. Now, our country is going through, best you could say, a time of trouble. A time of trouble that really I think even our founding fathers couldn't imagine we would go through this. And again, this is because we are about to come up on the 4th of July, which is Americans' independence, to celebrate our freedoms that our founding fathers put in back in 1776. Now, as Independence Day draws near, there's a new poll that came out through Gallup. And this is from Breitbart. Poll: pride in being American hovers near a record low ahead of Independence Day. The count in 2023 is 1% higher than last year's 38%, which was the record low according to the polling firm Gallup, despite President Joe Biden's promise to restore the soul and the security to secure the future of America. UPI reports the total of 67% of those surveyed identified as either extremely proud or very proud, compared to the 65% last year. The poll conducted over the first 3 weeks of June also found 22% of Americans adults identify as moderately proud, while 7% are only a little, or 4% not at all. The first editorial of the poll in January of 2001 found 55% of U.S. adults said they were extremely proud to be Americans, with the response soaring between 65 to 70% from 2002 to 2004, before starting to decline in 2005. Those saying they are extremely proud has been continually low since 2018, averaging around 42%. The survey results, published just ahead of the 4th of July, also show political parties affiliated were a strong producer of American pride. Some 60% of Republicans, 33% of independents, 29% of Democrats saying they were extremely proud to be an American in 2023. But listen to the poll, ladies and gentlemen. The poll released Thursday, slightly more than a third, 39% of Americans say they are extremely proud to be an American ahead of Independence Day. Now, ladies, they didn't ask me, and I did bring this up to one of my good friends that is very political as well, and he made a statement. He said, "Well, who did they poll?" They didn't poll me. I know they didn't poll. If they would have got out, if they would have asked me, I would have said extremely proud. But ladies and gentlemen, and like I said, I understand the thinking of Americans in this poll. The economy's bad. We have high gas prices. We have a president that falls up flights of stairs. We didn't think that was possible. We have a country that celebrates a whole month of sin, basically. Oh, well, what you talking about? Is pride? Yeah, pride is one of the deadly 7 sins. We have a country that allows men to run around naked in the streets of our cities in front of children. We have a whole political party that wants to go ahead and promote the slaughtering of innocent children in the womb. And look, as a Christian, I can see where I'll be like, man, it'd be hard to be proud of this country. But even with the flaws that this country has, we are still free to speak the way we want to speak, to live the way we want to live, and to serve and to have religion, or live in a religion that we choose to be, in. Look, I'm a non-denomination. I believe in the Bible. If you notice, I have a big Bible here. I don't want none of my books to fall, but I have a big Bible here. In the Brothers Just Searching studio, I have 3 or 4 Bibles, Bible commentaries. I believe what the Bible says. And look, before I say anything, it's God, family, country. That's in the order that I'm in. But ladies and gentlemen, I am extremely proud to be an American. I'm extremely proud of what I accomplished. Now, I understand, because it goes back to what I was saying a few episodes ago when I was talking about pride. There's a difference in being prideful and being proud. I am proud to be an American. I am proud to live in a country where I can be free. I'm proud that our founding fathers figured out ways that a tyrannical government could not take over this country. Because if it would have been possible, it would have happened already. But thank God for the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, founding documents, founding fathers, and setting up our way of government. It was just genius. Yes, I come behind this microphone and I tell you a lot of bad things that happen in this country. I tell you a lot what the left is trying to do, even what some of the right are trying to do. Look, let's say I can understand where people say it would be extremely hard to be proud of being an American. The Democrat Party and the current president is trying to prosecute the lead candidate for the Republican Party. That only happens in socialistic countries. Do we have some of our freedoms being threatened? Absolutely. I will give y'all that. But ladies and gentlemen, we still live in the greatest country this world has ever seen. Now, why do I still consider this one of the greatest countries in the world? Our government and our society has forsaken God. But the reason this country has lived so long is because it was built on the principle of God's word. You can argue with me till you're blue in the face that our founding fathers were heavily influenced by the word of God. And this is why our country has lasted so long. And this is why our country continues to stand, because we still have people like myself and many of you that are listening in this audience that are praying people. And you're praying for this country. And look, if anybody asks me, where are you from? I tell them Louisiana, but look, I never had the opportunity to go to Europe or to Jerusalem or anywhere else in the world. But I promise you, if I would go and they ask me, where are you from? I will say from the great country of the United States of America. I'm proud of that. I'm proud to be, and I honestly think that America is worth fighting for. America is worth coming up behind this microphone and telling you what's right and what's wrong and what's going on in politics. And ladies and gentlemen, I love this country. Like I said, God, family, and country. In that order. I love our flag. I love our country. I pray for the president. It's hard to do sometimes, but I do pray for the president. And I pray for our congressional leaders and our Senate leaders and everyone that is in control of this country, that they make the right decisions based on God's word. Unfortunately, they're not doing it right now, and we're going to have to see what happens. But are you part of that 39%? Now, I think it's a lot more. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a lot more than what this poll brought out. But I honestly think that there's this number going down to 39% is scary. And the only way I think we can get those numbers up is not by electing a new president. It's not by electing a new Senate or a new Congress. I think a lot of people will be proud of our country if they go ahead and acknowledge God back and say, look, we cannot make these decisions on our own. We need to focus on God and Jesus Christ. And ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you this. I honestly think that if our country gets back on the right track spiritually, we're going to get back on the right track physically, and then we're going to have people proud of this nation again. With that being said, I want to thank you for listening to this episode of the Cajun Conservative Show. Please, again, go ahead and hit a like and hit the like button, hit the share button, and hit the subscribe button on the platform you're listening on. If they let you say reviews, go ahead and give us a 5-star and leave a review about the podcast. I love hearing from you guys. You can always find me at the CajunConservative5@gmail.com. My last note, happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. On that day, remember our freedoms. Spend time with your friends and your loved ones. I know we're having a big barbecue and we're going to have some fireworks. We're going to have a real good time and celebrating our nation's freedoms. But before that, if you are a Bible-believing Christian, remember, let me say let this be a little more clearly. If you're a Bible-believing Christian, remember your liberty in Jesus Christ. There's no greater freedom than having Jesus in your heart. If you want to know Jesus, your Lord and Savior, reach out to me at the email I just gave. I'll tell you how to make Jesus your Savior and heaven your home. So until next time, be blessed, Be encouraged. You have a good one. My friends, my family. I love y'all.